A Very Qwillmas by Lacy Musketeer, narrated by Teresa Garcia. "Mom," the child called as she ran into the kitchen. "Mom, Mom, Mom, Mommy, Mom. Grammy and Grampy are here. They gave us chocolate." The child wrapped herself up in her mother's fluffy tail, peeking out from the blue fur and smiling. She held her tiny hands up and open. The chocolate, now melted, was smeared all over. Ari looked down at her daughter and cringed. The small Qwhilla was covered in sticky sweetness. Her mouth was covered. Her nose and cheeks were brown. She had even managed to get chocolate on her ear tips. That was an amazing feat for one sporting such long ears. "Oh, Astral, what did you do? Roll in it?" Ari placed the spatula she was using on the counter. The cake would have to wait. A clean child was more important than a perfectly frosted cake. "Nana, Ro and I are going to go to war. Warriors need war paint." The child jumped up and down, further entangling herself in her mother's long tail fur. "Which side will you be on? Mine or Ro's?" "Grampy and Papa are on that side, but Grammy is with me. Great Grammy is on my side, too." Ari began the task of separating child from tail, an endeavor of which she had recently become an expert. One hair here. Oops, wait. That was just a second ago chocolate-free. Sigh, maybe a comb? "Oh, Astral, your clothes too," she groaned as she peeled the fur away. Ari's tail was by now as covered in chocolate as her daughter was. "Yeah, we painted our clan symbols on them." She turned around to show her mother the front of her shirt, undoing all the work her mother had done, and further spreading the candy around. Astral, please be still." Ari was not having fun. "Where's your dad?" "He's outside with Granddaddy and Uncle. They said they were going to get the meat ready for the grill. I can't wait." Astral counted on her fingers. "They have chicken, beef, pork, insects, veggies, and fish. I love fish." The small Qwhilla began twining around her mother's legs now. "Fishies, fishies, fishies, wonderful fishies, la la la." Ari's ears twitched. Suddenly, an idea. "Sweetie, stop and listen. Go to the door, open it, and call your dad." "No, let me open the door instead." The little Qwhilla stopped, having wrapped her mom's tail as far around them both as it would go. The child was only mid-thigh to her, thankfully. The deck door slid open and the child tore herself out of the now constraining tail and dashed out the door, naturally making sure to drag her chocolate hands across the white refrigerator and oven. Because kids. Ari slumped a bit. Astral burst out onto the patio. "Papa!" she sang gleefully. "Papa, Papa, Papa!" She ran across the tiled patio like a bolt of red, green, blue, and of course brown lightning. Her father looked up first with a smile, happy to hear his offspring's happy voice. The smile quickly faded to an expression of abject horror. His eyes opened wide, pupils dilated, peering over his rectangular glasses. His perked ears fell. His jaw fell agape. He only had time to say, "Oh no," before the mini tornado named Ari Astral engulfed his legs and spread her chocolate-covered goodness all over his legs and tail. The plate of raw meat he was holding was lucky enough to be captured by Granddaddy's quick hands. The mini tornado proceeded to tangle herself in her father's tail, much like she had done her mom's. Hi, sweetheart," he greeted his daughter with a somewhat tremulous voice. "Hi, Papa," sang the child. "Mama wants you. I think she needs a bath. She smells all like candy." "I likely will too now," her dad spoke evenly. He ruffled Astral's hair and was rather surprised when he found chocolate on his hand. Why are you... Wait, never mind, I already know. Krim guessed every inch of his legs, conveniently below his knees, were now brown. He could already see the smears in his white tail fur. He inhaled, held it, then exhaled slowly. Removing his glasses with his unchocolated hand, he fired an accusing glare at his brother-in-law. The other Qwhilla took a step back and raised his hands, palms outwards. "Oh, hell no, bro," he whispered. "I know better." Krim then glared at his own papa, who merely shook his head and smirked. "Granddaddy!" the mini tornado squealed in delight and spun toward her grandfather. Granddaddy took it like a soldier and stood firm, even patting the girl's head. He accepted his chocolatey fate with grace and decorum. After finding her grandfather's reaction slightly unsatisfying, Astral turned her sight on Uncle Damien. The uncle visibly paled under his fur, his tail involuntarily puffing. His pupils shrank to pinpoints behind his shades. "No, no, stay back, ye spawn of sugar and cocoa." He turned and sprinted across the patio, the liquid refreshment he was enjoying all but forgotten on the patio table. Astral's peals of laughter followed as the chase began. "Mom!" a plaintive cry issued forth from the kitchen. A lily perked her ears. She was painting. "Mom!" A lily stowed her paintbrush and peeked into the next room. She gasped. Turning to her daughter-in-law, she said, "Yara, I think we'll need some help. Follow me." The two Qwhilla stepped to the kitchen silently. Before them, Ari stood still, shoulders slumped, glasses crooked, eyes pleading, and chocolate smeared upon her entire lower half, her tail, and halfway up her arms. Her tail was limp and lying in a pile on the floor. She held her arms out from her sides. She wore a dazed expression. "Mom," her voice quivered. "Who gave them chocolate?" "I think it was your grandparents. They brought in a basket and handed it straight away to them. Yashi and Nami got one piece each before yours ran off with it." Yara answered for their mother-in-law as she blinked in disbelief at the kitchen. Brown footprints were tracked from the living room into and through the kitchen and out the sliding doors to the patio. Tiny handprints decorated walls, the fridge, the oven. Alil carefully untied her daughter's apron and removed it. "Let's get you upstairs, dear. You need a shower and clean clothes." All Ari could do was nod. She offered no resistance as the two led her around the choco prints, through the conservatory and upstairs. Her ears drooped as she exhaled a long, forlorn sigh, finding brown streaks along the stairwell and on the railing. "No, dear," Ari's mom spoke. "You and your brother were never given sugary snacks, and neither of you did anything remotely close to this. Hose them down outdoors, please." "Will do. Thanks, Mom." "An Ronin." The boy knew that tone and that deep, good-natured voice. He dropped the video game controller he was holding. He stood bolt upright, eyes straight ahead, ears level and not twitching. Granddad came into a living room that had this morning been a nice, comfy, light-colored and relaxing space. Now it reeked of sweetness, and most everything just roughly 3 feet from the floor had been repainted in various tones of brown. The boy, who once proudly wore white fur with black to gray leopard spots, now wore rich milk chocolate on his face, his tail, and somehow all over his ears. There was very little white showing anywhere on his body. His clothes were even decorated with finger paint-style designs. His cousin Yashi had claimed the only clean spot in the room, the corner beside the sofa and behind a recliner, and was curled up reading her electronic book, actively ignoring the smaller Qwhilla. "Boy, what have you gotten yourself into?" The older Qwhilla smiled as he knelt down to Ro's height. He was proud of his grandchildren. Ro and Astral were unique and intriguing. Each had their own highly distinct personality. As for being twins, their fur differed greatly. Astral's coloration was swirls and spirals and tones of dark and light blues, with no hint at all of her parents' markings. Ro could well pass for a mini clone of his father, grandparents, and great-grands. Great-Grammy and Great-Grampy gave us treats, sir. The boy looked vaguely ashamed, but didn't move to even lower his eyes. I'm sorry we ate it all, sir. Son, Granddad spoke around a smile. You're a kid. It is allowable for kids to be kids, and you aren't required to stand there and address me as though I'm your admiral. Sir, yes, sir. Granddad stood and chuckled at the new decor and his grandson. He smiled, recalling when his own children were born and grew to that age. He shook his head thoughtfully. Granddad, you forgot to say, at ease, soldier. Well then, where did you get that military mindset? At ease, soldier. Granddad spoke. The boy snapped back into his sugar high and, smiling, eyes shining, announced, I'll go find my sister. He zipped from the room. A trail of little hand and footprints appeared on the walls and floor in his wake. With the child no longer in the room, Granddad began working the magic that would remove all the smears and smudges. After a few minutes, a lily came downstairs and lent her assistance. Ours used paint and markers, she said with a giggle. Granddad laughed. Oh, I remember, beloved. It was much more difficult to remove than this. Once everything was clean again, they walked together, hand in chocolate-covered hand, to the kitchen for cleanup detail. They gathered their own parents to help with the rest of the house. Ro rounded the side of the house just in time to see his sister in rapid pursuit of their uncle. He squealed and joined the chase. Uncle Damien turned only long enough to see his persecution was now doubled. The adult Qwhilla, who was at that point merely playing a game, realized with mortal terror that he would soon be covered in sticky sweetness. He would tolerate garlic, but chocolate was his demise. He quickened his pace. This chase would not see its end for a while yet. None of the individuals involved in the chase noticed Nami, perched in the tree nearest the house, whence he watched the activity. He would guide the younger ones to his super-secret special spot later, when his dad was effectively winded. Ari was finally clean. Finally. No more chocolate. Even the smell was gone, having been replaced by the pure and wholesome scent of vanilla. Her tail was smooth and detangled after she and Yara's deft comb work. Yara had gotten a bath herself, to be sure there was no offending scent of cocoa. Both were now dressed in their nicer clothings. Ari in black jeans with a red and black pinstripe satin buttoned blouse. Her sister-in-law in dark blue jeans and a silky soft violet ruffle shirt. Everyone tended toward their favorite colors this holiday. The two went downstairs and happily found all the new decor cleaned away. Every room reflected its previous unchocolated state. Yara happened to peek out the patio door and saw her mate fleeing from her niece and nephew. Oh no, she looked at Ari. This will not end well for my poor guy. He hates chocolate and anything sweet. Except you, am I right? Ari smiled, only to receive a thump on her shoulder. When are your parents due to arrive? Oh, any time now. Soon, I hope. Maybe Mom has something that will calm your hatchlings down. That would be nice. Together they finished the cake on the counter with a bit of frosting in the flowers. Ari had shaped before the chocolate incident and placed the finished work of art in the refrigerator. Ari and Yara were done with the kitchen and walked outside, glancing cautiously around for any errant candied child, and joined their respective mates and elder family members at the grill. Yara waved as her mate fled past, singing to him a sweet "I love you" after him. Ari stood in front of Krim. They would have embraced right there, but Ari's dislike of chocolate easily overpowered her desire to be in her mate's arms. "Go shower," she said. "We'll be here tending the meat." Krim nodded, and with a very brief nose bump, he placed the cooking tools on the table. "I love you, Ari, even through all this," he coughed for effect, "decoration." He laughed as he and his dad went inside to clean up for their females. After the chocolate males were clean and redressed, Yara's parents flew in. Racush and Horan, the Empress and Emperor of Ibexia, disembarked their dragon-driven chariot. They paused to release the dragons from their gear, allowing the friendly beasts some time to rest and join with everyone else. The 2 imperial guards remained close beside the Kirin and her ibex mate. Their 3 kids came into view. They were dressed in their royal finery. The entire Qwilla family, sans the youngest kids and Uncle Damien, met the newcomers with hugs and kisses. "Mom, Dad," Yara smiled as she embraced both and kissed their cheeks. "I'm so glad to see you." She hugged each kid in turn and ruffled each one's hair, then turned to her younger sister, Ash. She placed her hands on the other's shoulders, and they exchanged smiles and locked eyes in a way that only sisters can. "You all look wonderful. You may want to beware the 2 Qwillins running around. They were given chocolate." Yashi had sauntered outside and attached herself firmly to Raku's hand, and they were chatting in Raku's native language. Nami had found Horan and was occupying them both by playing with the elder's goatee and sharing tales of the hunts they had enjoyed together. Raku's eyebrows perked. "I've heard tales of what chocolate can do to kids. Insidious creation it is indeed." She nodded and sagely laughed. "My husband loves it, and I eat it as well, but it doesn't affect us in that manner." Horan smiled at his wife, and she slipped him a small piece. "We carry it for emergencies," he chortled. Damien dashed by, stopping for only a second to bow to his mate's parents. Behind him, Astral and Ro shrieked, "He stopped! Now we can get him!" At that, he was off again. Ari gave Raku a pleading look. She understood, and opening one of her baskets, she removed 2 cherry-like fruits. Suddenly, a scream came from around the house. Everyone looked around and upwards in time to see Nami dive from his perch, wings wide as he circled and floated to the ground. The adults rounded the house, and all saw Uncle Damien caught under a net, Nami and Ro's handiwork. Nami was removing the net as the 2 Qwillins sat upon their beloved uncle so he couldn't escape. Once the net was gone, Astral and Ro promptly covered him in chocolate. Damien lay helpless, sprawled beneath his tiny family members. His arms and legs were at odd angles, his tail twisted and bent in a manner that looked broken. Ro was holding a toy sword to his back. Astral was shoving Ro away so she could help her uncle stand up. Damien feigned a beleaguered expression, but was smiling brightly and chuckling. "Stop laughing, Uncle Damien. You are our prisoner of war," Ro said loudly and stoically as possible. He poked his uncle with his sword for good measure. Astral bound Damien's hands in front of him. "Now, Uncle, you are our prisoner. I'm tying your hands with this magical rope. It's invisible, and you can't see it, but it's there. You can't get away." She stood beside him with her arms crossed and stared intimidatingly at him, which only made her look more adorable. Uncle Damien mirrored his sister's crooked smile as the whole family watched. He loved these 2 kids. He loved his own kids, thankfully now older than these 2. He led the 2 children, or rather, let them think that they led him, to the gathered family near the grill. He exchanged formal bows with Raku, Horan, and their entourage, in lieu of hugs, because, well, chocolate and royal attire don't work well together. If their highnesses would excuse me, I require a firm de-chocolating. My love, please come help, he implored. Yara looked at her nice clothing. Then the thought of washing her mate seemed much better than having said clothing on. Sure, love, I can always dress again. She winked at him, and they went towards the house. Children, Grim called, follow me. You two are getting showered. The two Qwillings slumped their shoulders and shuffled their feet, spouting a collective, "Ah, we were having fun." Damien called back at them in a playfully sinister voice. Next time, kids, next time I will get you. No, never. Right then, a shimmering portal opened beside the group. Out stepped a beautifully clad black cat with dragon horns, a much shorter Arctic fox close behind them, followed by a silver tabby house cat and a white tigress, all holding hands affectionately. "Sis," Ari cried, quite surprised. "You made it! Terran, Arcos, great to see you!" The Qwilla rushed up to the cat and wrapped her arms tightly around the other. The cat quickly embraced Ari and Racush. The other two, Terran and Arcos, were hugged equally as much as bowing and shaking of hands were as exchanged. Krim hugged the cat as well and shook hands with the fox, the tabby, and hugged the tigress. "Ocelot, Alamat, Terran, Arcos, I'm so glad you all could make it." "I'm so glad we could be here. It's lovely to see everyone, even the chocolate children." Ocelot decorously refrained from hugging them. "Kids, I love you, but clean comes before hugs." She giggled. "We were just gonna," Astral said, pouting. Ro was standing remarkably still and toying with a red cherry in his hand. "Astral, we haven't had these ever. Let's try them. Grandma Racush gave them to me." He handed his sister a fruit, and together they nibbled them. Finding them quite tasty, they nommed happily. Good," the kids chimed in unison. "May we have more?" Racush shook her head. "At dinner, children." The Qwillings nodded and followed their dad. Krim waved a hand, and a singular rainstorm formed some feet away from the group. The kids squeaked and ran under the cloud and bounced around when the rain began to fall. "Handy trick," Horan whispered to Krim. "You must teach my wife that one. Our own children can get frighteningly filthy." "I'll certainly try," Krim replied, laughing together with the ibex over the trials and tribulations of fatherhood. "Astral, Ro, we put swimsuits on you for a reason. Take off your day clothing so we can wash them." Ari took off her own clothing, under which was her own swimsuit, and joined them in the rain. Green-tinted mist rose from the ground and collected the remaining chocolate. Nami, ever planning, stripped to his swim trunks as well and joined in. Yashi begrudgingly did the same. Yara, who had peeked out a window, came outside wearing her swimsuit as well and eagerly began dancing in the rain. She loved rain and water. Damien and Krim ushered everyone indoors while the small group played in the rain. The grandparents had all been busy setting the huge dining table and preparing the huge dining room. Unbeknownst to the children, they had also brought in all the wrapped presents and gifts given by Racush and Horan and family, those brought by Ocelot, Alamat, Terran, and Arcos, as well as those previously wrapped and hidden by everyone else. Krim's venerable grandfather had donned his Santa Claus outfit. One corner of the large family room was piled almost to the ceiling with brightly colored paper, bows, boxes, several matching plush animals, an electric train set conjoined with an electric race car set, and other accoutrements of the season. Everyone seated themselves upon the soft cushioned chairs of the large round dining table. Even the Imperial Guards were given leave to relax, remove their armor, and enjoy the visit. The elders brought the plates of food out, as was their wont. Racush helped in this endeavor, spreading the food she had brought around the table. Ocelot and Terran placed their own, as did Terran and Arcos. Ari, Yara, and all the kids, including Racush and Horens, entered the room clean and dry, wearing their best. Aromas of foods from different cultures filled the house. Voices and languages from different cultures filled the air. Warmth and love from all filled hearts and warm spirits. After a long dinner would be present opening. After present opening would be conversation, playing, singing, storytelling. After all, this was Merrymas. This was Family Mass. This was Santa Mass. This was Qwillmas. As it would be each year, each generation, forever. Copyright December 31st, 2018 to Lacy Musketeer, also known as Arya Lacy Wolfram. Qwhilla is the creation and intellectual property of Toki and Racush Cheeky. All characters are copyright themselves except in certain situations where they are the intellectual property of their respective creators. No artwork accompanied this submission. This tale comes from Nisa, one of the many lands in the Dreaming Twilight.